The history of Impressionism. In 19th century Paris, the main art exhibition was called the Salon. The Academy of Fine Arts, who loved grand historical subjects, mythological scenes, and traditional themes, organized this annual exhibition. Apart from the Salon, it may seem like not much in the era like ours, when art galleries are everywhere in major cities, but in Paris at this time, there was one official state-sponsored exhibition called the Salon, and very few galleries devoted to the work of living artists. For most of the 19th century, the Salon was the only way to exhibit your work, and therefore the only way to establish your reputation and make a living as an artist.
Berthe Morisot, Edgar Degas, Auguste Renoir, Camille Pissarro
were among the Impressionists who established the Anonymous Society of Painters, Sculptors, and Printmakers. Despite facing rejection from the Salon jury, they aimed to break free and showcase their work without waiting for acceptance. Their unique approach to pave the way for future generations, and their first exhibition was held in Paris in 1874.
Claude Monet.
Impression Sunrise, exhibited in 1874, gave the Impressionist movement its name when the critic Louis Leroy accused it of being a sketch or impression, not a finished painting, in a bad way. Impressionists, a group of French artists, favored modern life and preferred to paint outdoors, often using smaller canvases for easier transport. They also favored playing with light and color, highlighting how light can affect mood, atmosphere. Realistic representation wasn't always necessary. They wanted to depict their own way of looking at things and show the atmosphere of a place. During their time, the Impressionist way of looking at art was considered revolutionary in many ways, as it was defining for many modern art movements that were yet to come, and safe to say it would affected the course of modern art. In the late 1880s, a group of young painters in France attempted to break free of the naturalistic approach to depicting color and light typical of Impressionism, embarking on the search for independent artistic styles to express emotions and not just visual impressions, focusing more on symbolism. Among these artists were
Georges Seurat, Vincent van Gogh, Paul Gauguin, and Paul Cézanne.
Impressionism, in favor of using color and form in more expressive manners. It emerged as a reaction to Impressionism's objective depiction of light and color, focusing on artificial colors and geometric forms. It began in 1886 and ended in 1905 with the birth of Fauvism. Its unique aesthetic style, characterized by symbolism and abstraction, is easily identifiable among artists, making it a distinct art movement. The styles share heavy outlines, focusing on form and middle-class urban lifestyles. They were inspired by East Asian art, ukiyo-e block prints, which had a distinctive divisions and flattening planes, influencing the work of
Van Gogh, Bonnard, and Toulouse-Lautrec.
The term post-impressionism was first used by the art critic in
Roger Fry.
1906 as a blunt term to describe a variety of works departing from the impressionism produced in the last decades of the century. Post-impressionism was never formally defined as a cohesive movement, but reflected instead the vision of several artists, predominantly French, united by similar concerns, who often exhibited together, resulting in a rich complexity of different styles and trends. The term Pointillism, from the French word point, meaning dot, in which hundreds of small dots or dashes of pure color are applied to the canvas. Before it was known as Pointillism, this style of painting was referred to as Divisionism, and the term Neo-Impressionism was coined by French art critic Félix Fénelon in 1886 to describe one of Georges' works, a painting technique that involves applying hundreds of small dots of pure color to the canvas. Originally coined by art critics as a ridicule, it developed as part of the post-impressionist movement in the late 1880s. This technique involved painting distinct dots next to one another to form an image. resulting in blurred images. This technique is often viewed as part of the movement and gained popularity between the 1880s and the 1890s. Many artists began to adopt this technique of painting, and after the 1890s, once Pointillism had reached its peak, it actually led to the development of the Fauvism art movement. Pointillism had a massive influence on various art movements that developed. This spanned from the end of the 19th century throughout the avant-garde of stages of the 20th century. Recalling back to Impressionism, an art movement originating in the late 80s, was primarily centered around Parisian painters who rebelled against the classical subjects and modernity. Some of the characteristics of Impressionism are bold brushstrokes, no mixing of paint, lighting, the influence of photography, painting outdoors, and then the landscapes. The mention of it is a French expression meaning in the open air, and it refers to the act of painting outdoors. The artists captures the spirit and essence of the landscape by painting natural light, color, and movement into their works. Let's recall the artists who were mentioned.
Claude
Was a key
Monet,
figure in the Impressionist movement that transformed French painting in the second half of the 19th century. Throughout this long career, he consistently depicted the landscape and leisure activities of Paris and its environs as well as the Normandy coast. He led the way to 20th century modernism by developing a unique style that strove to capture on canvas the very act of perceiving nature. He led the way to 20th century modernism by developing a unique style that strove to capture on canvas the very act of perceiving nature.
Edgar Degas,
A renowned French painter, sculptor, and printmaker, was renowned for his Impressionist-inspired images of Parisian life. His primary focus was the human figure, particularly the female, showcasing his work on the somber portraits, the laundresses, the cabaret singers, the milliners, and the prostitutes.
Pierre-Auguste Renoir,
A renowned French Impressionist painter, was known for his depictions of Parisian modernity and leisure in the late 19th century. Known for his ability to capture light and shadow movement, he also explored the Renaissance painting, integrating line and composition into his mature works, creating timeless canvases.
Camille Pissarro,
A pivotal figure in Impressionism, was the only artist to exhibit in all 8 group exhibitions. He experimented with various styles, including a pointillist approach, and was a mentor to influential artists, often referred to as
Fazer Picasso, Berthe Morisot,
She was a founding member of Impressionism, known for her vivacious brushstrokes and unusual figuration, which led her to transition from Impressionism to abstraction. She featured prominently in annual exhibitions, except one she missed due to recovery after her daughter's birth.
Louis Leroy,
French 19th century engraver, painter, and successful playwright. However, he is remembered as the journalist and art critic for the French satirical newspaper, who coined the term
Impressionism.
to satirize the artists now known by the word Post-Impressionism and Pointillism. It was first led by
Georges Seurat,
a French painter who was a prominent figure in the Post-Impressionism movement, a 19th century style that distorted real-life subjects. He used pointillism and color blocking to create a mixed colors. His most famous painting, A Sunday Afternoon on
Grande Jatte,
is a classic example of pointillism, where small distinct dots of pure color are added to shape an image. He spent 2 years on this masterpiece, completing multiple drawings to perfect their shape.
Paul Signac,
A French painter developed pointillism with, at 18, he abandoned architecture for painting and converted to Impressionism coloristic principles. Helped him found the Salon des Indépendants in 1884 and initiated into the broken color technique. They developed Pointillism, which became the basis of Neo-Impressionism. They applied pigment in minute dabs of pure color, adopting a scientific system.
Vincent van Gogh.
A Dutch painter, is considered the greatest actor and one of the post-impressionists. He created 21,000 artworks in just over a decade, including 860 oil paintings, mostly from his last 2 years. His landscape still lives, portraits, and self-portraits were influenced by bright colors and expressive brushwork. The Starry Night is a famous post-impressionist painting by depicting the view outside a sanitarium window in Saint Remy de Provence, France. The painting based on shows the moon, Venus, and stars in their exact locations. Despite selling only one artwork, he became the most recognized painter of all time a century after his death.
Paul Gauguin.
French painter, printmaker, and sculptor who sought to achieve a primitive expression of spiritual and emotional states in his work. The artist whose work has been categorized as post-impressionist, synthesist, and symbolist is particularly well known for his creative relationship with
Vincent van Gogh.
his artistic experiments influenced many avant-garde developments in the early 20th century.
Paul Cézanne.
A post-impressionist painter, was a key figure in the transition from 19th century artistic practice to 20th century modern art. He bridged the gap between Impressionism and Cubism, creating distinctive paintings were characterized by color planes and small brushstrokes, resulting in complex fields. Despite facing criticism for not being shown in conventional galleries, he captured the spirit and fundamental structure of nature, producing vibrant, dynamic paintings with a unique style. The post-impressionist, even though the artist struggled during his lifetime and at times lacked confidence in his work, his unique approach, use of color and light, and interest in geometric shapes above realism had an important impact on later artists.